While it seems obvious that millionaires operate from a different formula than others, one of the things I have found so fascinating is how similar and simple their formula is. And while there are different components that create everyone's formula and things that differ, at a fundamental level, you'll always see the same core elements. And it's what it requires to not only become wealthy, but healthy and happy, how to create an amazing life. So whether your goal is to create a financially free life you love or to maintain one, you're going to love today's insight. Hi, I'm Ep1000 and welcome to the Millionaire Insider. For over 30 years, I've been advising and researching the top 1% and 2% of millionaires to learn what millionaires with amazing lives do differently. And now I'm providing you practical, easy to implement insight so that you can build a profitable business and attract more ideal, affluent clients, as well as giving you the inside scoop on how to create a financially free life you love. So let's dive into the Millionaire Insider's financial freedom formula. Let's face it, regardless of where you are on your money journey, whether you're starting out or you already have wealth, you've got to learn how to manage it. It's critical at every stage of your game. And the sooner you learn the fundamentals of what you need, the formula you need, the plan you need, the execution you need, once you learn that, you're going to be so much further ahead than you ever will be by trying to figure it out. And one of the things that you're going to learn as far as managing your money and creating a financially free life you love is you got to get in the driver's seat of your life and your wealth. And if you have a business, your business. And one of the things I see is a lot of times people are like going through life and they're not in the driver's seat. It's a problem. So let's not let that be you. Before we get started, please click subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified of future episodes. The materials and intellectual property are copywritten by themillionaireseries.com. The information we provide is not intended to replace any advisor or specialist or to provide you healthcare or financial advice, not retirement advice, estate planning, tax, anything. You need to consult with your own team of advisors for that. All participants agree to hold millionaireseries.com harmless for results achieved or not achieved, and all international copyrights are reserved. For today's show notes, go to millionaireseries.com/1000. For all show notes tied to the wealthy life, go to millionaireseries.com/WLI. So our free resource for today is your wealthy life formula. You can go to millionaireseries.com/WL-guide. This resource is going to take you through the formula that affluent clients use to not only accumulate their financial freedom, their wealth, but also to retain it. So again, millionaireseries.com/WL-guide. One of the most important things you've got to learn is how to create your formula. If you're achieving your desired results, great, keep it up, you got a great formula. If you find you're not getting your desired results in any aspect of your life, you got to look at your formula. And the best news of all is all you have to do is change it. It's that easy. But if you want the access to this resource, go to millionaireseries.com/WL-guide. And we have an upcoming training, our Affluent Women Training. You can go to millionaireseries.com/AWT and access our Affluent Women and Couples template. If you want to serve more affluent clients, you're an advisor or a consultant, you want to download this guide. Again, millionaireseries.com/AWT. This will also take you to our upcoming Affluent Women and Couples Training on how to get your share of this almost $40 trillion market. So again, millionaireseries.com/AWT. If you want to go directly to the registration for the masterclass, you'll still get the template. You can go to millionaireseries.com/affluent. And I'll look forward to seeing you on that training. So let's dive into the financial freedom formula. So the first thing they do is they create a solid foundation. So what does that entail? You got to get into the driver's seat of your business and your life. And what that means is you got to slow down your brain so that you are present, you're conscious, you're clear on what you're doing. You know what you want, and you're crystal clear on where you're going and on the action you take each day. You've got to decide what you want. You see, most people, it's kind of like they're not clear. So it's like, like, oh, I want to get in the driver's seat. So now you learn how to focus, you learn how to be present, but then you're like on this tangent, and then another silver bullet comes, and now you're on that. You got to get really clear. You got to decide, and then you got to execute. You got to set your goals. I am or I active verb. If you do not know how to effectively set goals, go to millionaireseries.com/107. That dives deep into setting goals, the exact format, how to set them so that you can achieve them. Meaning most people teach you how to set goals. You don't need to know how to set goals, you need to know how to achieve goals. And then you've got to elevate your worth barometer. I just got off a call with one of our advisors. So many advisors right now are struggling, and she was just in such a great mood. Well, what's happened? Oh, I just got off a call with a new client. She's got $2 million. I'm like, yes. Well, what was the shift? Because when I started working with her a year ago, a little under a year ago, I mean, I didn't think she was ready for the affluent market, and she was so determined. And fast forward about 6 months into the year, she had already increased her revenue by 31%. And I said, what was the shift? She's like, so different. She goes, oh, it was completely the worth barometer, my confidence, my beliefs, my self-esteem. It's amazing. So if you want more insight on the worth barometer, go to millionaireseries.com/105. And I'll link to all of these in the show notes so you have them. So the next thing you've got to do is you've got to focus. And this requires that you slow down your mind and your thinking. Some of the most powerful strategies are silent meditation and focused breathing, meaning breathing into the count of 8 through your nose, hold it for 8, release for 10. And whenever you feel yourself going really fast or getting distracted or worrying or going below the grid, just slow down and breathe. Studies have actually shown that actually increases the gray mass in your brain. It allows you to better focus, and it allows you to, live more above the grid, where you have less worry, less anxiety, less fear. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And I love now that science proves this. So the next thing you've got to do is you've got to decide what you want, what does your lifestyle look like, and how much money you're going to need. Now, this is really important, and this is something I want to share that, the verdict's still out on how I feel about this. But, when I was starting out, I'm like, I just want to be able to have several homes and go wherever I want. And I didn't really think that through. I mean, I love having several homes, but you've got to think about what that entails. Like, now it's the argument, are we going to the mountain homes, and are we going up to the snow, or are we going down to the ocean to look at the beach? And when you have a family of 5, there's always differing opinions. Everyone's got their opinion. So really think that through. One of the things I find fascinating about this is we're down in our ocean home, and I said to my son, this is $1 million view. I mean, just look at that. I could sit and watch the ocean all day long. And he's like, yeah, like how long can you do that? I go, I could do it for days. And so we're then going down for a walk, and he goes, I just wish we could be a normal family. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, like a normal family that can only afford one home and doesn't have to go on, all these vacations. And I said, that's so interesting. And so I started thinking about it. I thought, wow. We get home, and of course he's playing, and I said, well, a normal family wouldn't have a really good computer. They wouldn't have their own computer room. They wouldn't have their own phone. So we got to get rid of all that stuff so you can really experience what it's like to be a normal person. He's like, let me think about that. But my point being is you got to decide what it is that you want, and you got to get really clear on it, and then you got to know how much money you need, because we got to first of all know how much money you need to determine the strategies you're going to use to create it and to live on it. The next thing you got to do is you got to set your goals, and ideally you're setting your goals in I am or I active verb. But a recent study I was reading, they found that by the 19th of January, 92% of people had given up on their goal. And I remember thinking, it's just amazing, but how can people give up that quickly? Once you understand the brain, it's pretty easy, because the problem is most people set goals from their prefrontal cortex, these big, great goals. But their limbic, primitive brain that's there to protect them is not on board. And so the problem is if you don't have alignment between your limbic brain, your primal brain, and your prefrontal cortex, you're never going to achieve your goal. Or you'll achieve something and then not. Achieve something and not. You won't have that congruency. You've got to align it. You also need to state your goals. I am or I active verb. And again, if you want the deep dive into goal setting, not just to set goals, but to achieve them, go to millionaireseries.com/107. The next thing you've got to do is you've got to elevate your worth barometer. Literally, 98.7% of the results we get in our mastermind, and if you're at all familiar with our mastermind, we get unbelievable results. I mean, results that blow me away. But people say, how are you doing it? I do it by teaching a combination of a formula. your inner game, your foundation, your strategy, and your execution. And one of the things that I find when it comes to a person's formula is that most people just overlook the foundational piece, their worth barometer. And interestingly enough, I was just like that. I don't have time for that stuff. I'll do that once I'm successful. I got to focus on the execution. And the reality of it is we need to focus on the foundation, our mindset, our worth barometer, our vision, our goals, the strategy, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and then the execution. That's where the magic occurs. So in my 30 plus years of advising and researching the top 1% and 2% of millionaires, I found that the biggest determinant of your success, of anyone's success, is their worth barometer. That's how you create a financially free life you love and you maintain your wealth. Interestingly enough, if you have trouble maintaining your weight, you have trouble maintaining your wealth, you have trouble accumulating wealth, any of those things, it's all stems from your worth barometer. We work on your worth barometer and it all changes. Now, for people who are living so out there and not aware of their worth barometer, like, there's no way it could be that important. It's that critical. We literally see so many people who are struggling and they start working on the worth barometer and everything changes. And in fact, my client that I was just talking to yesterday that just got a new $2 million account, she said, you could just teach that inner game stuff, that worth barometer, the self-esteem, the confidence, the beliefs, just teach that and it would dramatically change people's results. That's how powerful it is. Obviously, ideally, you are having a combination of it. You've got your foundation, you've got your strategy, and you've got your execution. So one of the stories that I like to share, when I first started out and long before I knew about the worth barometer, and believe me, I lived way below the grid. Fear, worry, gossip, anger, resentment, jealousy, all those things that are so toxic and keep you stuck. And my manager, I had been hired right out of college to do an internship at one of the largest financial firms in the US. And the agreement was that after I went through the new org for 6 months, I could be my own agent. So fast forward 6 months, and I was so excited when my manager said, Annette, we need to talk. And you know that feeling get in your stomach, you're like, this is not good. He said, Annette, you're young, you're attractive, you're female. You don't have what it takes, you'll never make it. And I can still hear that. And he even had me do a handwriting analysis, and of course it came back that I lacked the confidence and I didn't know what I was doing. And well, of course I didn't know what I was doing. That's why you have mentors. That's why you're watching me. I mean, if we knew what to do, we wouldn't need someone else, right? And you don't have what it takes. If you learn one thing from me, no one gets to decide if we have what it takes but us. And I will tell you this much. I will take a producer that's less successful, that's less charismatic, that's less connected, but that'll do the work any day over somebody that just shows up and kind of has it all in their purse. Why? Because I know if they'll do the work that I can teach them what they need to know to execute. Well, anyway, I left. I was so angry, so frustrated, and I was really mad for about 4 years. And one day, thank the Lord above, I just said, I'm spending so much energy on this toxic situation that I had, and I was just thinking, like, when I'm a millionaire, what I'm going to say to them. And I mean, it's really embarrassing, to be quite honest. But I was so mad. And I said, if I just start taking a fraction of that energy and focusing on my clients, serving them, doing what I can do, it's got to be better. I mean, maybe I'm not going to become financially free or a millionaire. Maybe I'm not going to become a top producer, but I'm going to be a heck of a lot further than I am having this negative energy. Well, fast forward 4 years, my first major deal, just under $1 million that I earned, that manager who said, you don't have what it takes, you'll never make it, had been trying to close that deal for over 12 years. And I was just kind of like, oh, I guess that happens. It turned out he obviously could never find out about it because that would have been a problem. But what happened is he ended up coming back, tried to recruit me. I mean, obviously, he knew I was a top producer. I made some major awards, some of the highest achievement awards in our industry. And then he started trying to recruit me. And I thought, you should have believed in me before I was successful. But one of the things that was so powerful in that whole experience was the fact of really gaining the confidence of realizing, yeah, I didn't have it all figured out. I really didn't have what it took. But that's where we're at, and that's where we need people to help us get there. And then we have to develop. If we don't have the belief in ourselves or the confidence, which a lot of us didn't when we started out, then we've got to develop that. And we've got to understand it's really not about being perfect. It's about doing our best. And when we make mistakes, which we all do and will, looking at it, being able to kind of like laugh at it and go, really? And then do something about it. I mean, if I look back on all the things I did when I was younger and before I knew this, it's embarrassing. Like, I'm sure there are people that are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said this or did this. I can't either. And that's the reality. And when you can kind of have fun with it and laugh with it, everything changes. But one of the things you can do right now is that focused breathing, breathing into the count of 8 through your nose, hold it for 8, and then release for 10 or 12. And the other thing you can do that's really powerful to work on your worth barometer is I am enough. The reality of it is as imperfect as we are enough. I'm enough. You're enough, I'm enough. And by getting focused on that, it makes it so much easier. And then when we start feeling like, oh, I can't believe I said that, or what should I have done? I'm enough. I'm enough. Not perfect, not looking to be perfect. Not the super mom, don't want to be the super mom or the super wife or whatever, myths we had. I used to think I could be a super mom. Yeah, forget that one, right? Your kids will prove you wrong. But the reality of it is getting really clear on that and then executing every day, even when you fall, even when you slip. So let's look at some tips for creating a solid foundation. Your first component is your foundation. First of all, you got to get adequate sleep. Now, I know that sounds kind of silly, but 7 to 8.5 hours of sleep a night. I aim for a minimum of 7. I know between 7 and 7.5. Now, this is what you have to be aware of, is that if you're getting, say, like I used to get like 10 to 6, that's really not 8 hours because you're awake about an hour to an hour and a half. That's why I have my handy Fitbit. And so I aim for somewhere around 7. Now, sometimes I get a little under it, but I'm looking at my deep sleep and my REM sleep. As long as that's up there, then I'm good. And you can tell it because you're sharper mentally, you've got more focus, more energy, you're excited about the people you're impacting. So powerful. The next thing you got to do is you got to slow down and you got to quiet your mind. And you've got to be really clear on what it is you want, and you got to make sure that you're taking the time to recharge so that you're able to get clarity and focus and not feel like you're on this treadmill just trying to do more and more and more. Another thing you have to do is you have to eat a clean diet. And trust me, if you're like me, I had no idea how important diet was. And when I grew up, I was always sick. And I remember thinking, what am I going to do when I get older and I get sick like this? Like, I'd be sick for like a week or two, and really sick. And I started studying macrobiotics in college. One of my friends drugged me to one of the classes, and all the people in there had cancer and heart disease. We were the only 2 people that weren't sick. And it was so frightening. And what I realized is I could no longer live on a sugar diet. And I had to really start incorporating healthier foods. And now, and I don't think I eat a completely clean diet, and I will have some things with sugar. I try to have, healthier sugar or sugar alternatives that are healthy, like monk fruit, or if I'm going to have sugar, some coconut sugar that is a lower glycemic load. But what I find is I feel so much better. I look better. It's amazing. Everything functions better, and that's where we all have to get. And if you're not there yet, just start slowly incorporating it. And then be really clear, be really conscious about when you're eating something. We've had so many people in our mastermind lose weight. One call we had like one person lost 40 pounds, one lost 20, 3 lost 7, one lost 5, and somebody's like, are you now doing weight training? I'm like, no, but I should. When you're clear and you're living above the grid, you make different choices. You make different choices with your money. You make different choices with your health and your weight. You make different choices with your relationships. You're more conscious. And it all begins by slowing down, getting adequate sleep, being able to quiet down, being able to eat a good diet. And then we've got to exercise our mind. And we've got to exercise our mind and exercise our body. One of the most powerful things you can do is yoga. Another one you can do is your focused breathing, your affirmative goals. All of those will really help. You want to then identify and get clear on what triggers you. Like, I know things that trigger me. And, some things my husband will say or do. And it's just so funny because once you get aware of that, you're like, okay, that could trigger me if I wanted to. And if you can kind of look at it like let's say something about money triggers you. And when you start experiencing it, you start feeling it, you start thinking it, just notice it. What about that is triggering me? Like, I know for me, like, money was so much about security because growing up, we had enough money, but my parents always had to look like they didn't have money. It was the weirdest thing. But it was one of the things where I just thought, okay, once I get a certain amount of money, I'm going to feel really secure. And you get that first million, you're like, okay, I don't feel much different. Maybe it's the second million. Oh, maybe it's the third or fourth or fifth. And you finally realize another million is not going to solve that empty feeling. And so that's where we have to get really clear on our own worth barometer, our own self-esteem, our own confidence. But identify what triggers you. I know if you mess with my kids, I can get triggered. And then also know what you need to do to get back on track. Meaning, I know, quiet down, breathe, notice it. Just notice, like, what about that triggered you? And what I find fascinating is I used to get triggered by things that now I actually kind of find humorous. It's kind of like, that's interesting. That would have triggered me like 4 years ago or 3 years ago. I would have been so triggered, and now I'm kind of like, how interesting. And one of the things that really can help by being triggered or getting back on track is just realizing that people are doing the best they can do. And, right now, with everything that's going on politically and economically, oh my gosh, you're like, okay, I don't know this person, because people have just come, their behaviors have just come out of nowhere. And what you have to understand is they're doing the best they can do based on the information they have. And so the more we can get clear on that, the better. And then you've got to reduce stress, simplify your life, and increase your reserves, meaning not just have like 2 months of emergency or 3 months of emergency reserve, but maybe an entire year. Now, obviously, you're not going to do that while you're accumulating it, but you want to make sure that you've got a plan. You got your regular plan and you have your B plan. You want to make sure that you have enough time. So if you know something's going to take you 3 hours to do, all right, block off 4 hours. 1 hour here, you do a power hour, 50 to 70 minutes laser focus, followed by your power break, moving your arms, moving your legs for the next hour. And now you have an extra time, and let's say you set time. Let's say you say, okay, I have an hour. All right, I'm going to get this done in an hour. I had a major project I had to do that was due yesterday, and in years before, it's taken me like 3 or 4 hours. I said, I'm going to get this done in 30 minutes. Well, it took me like about 40 minutes, but man, I was just boom, 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 done. That's how it happens, and that's what happens when we have reserves, more than we need. The second step is they develop a winning financial strategy. The first thing they get really clear on is how much money do they need, and then what sources are they going to get it from? Is it going to come from active work or passive work or a combination of both? So how much money do you need monthly? Need. How much money do you want monthly? Want. Those are the extra perks. Where is it going to come from? Earned income, interest, dividends, passive income. I love guaranteed passive income, but to get guaranteed passive income, you have to accumulate money. So you have to have good size amounts of money. And then residual income. That's where you do the work and then you get paid on it. So you create a course, you write a book, and you get paid on it. I mean, my second book, 7 Principles of Becoming a Millionaire for Life, is one of my best-selling books. I wrote it, I had it edited, I've updated it a couple times, and I make money on that all the time. It's amazing how that works. So just again, get clear on where is it going to come from, and that's what they do. So the third thing they do is they execute consistently on their financial strategy. They're really clear on what they have to do consistently to achieve their goals. It's that simple. The first thing they do is they create their master budget. Now you can go to millionaireseries.com/AMB, my initials, for the Affluent Master Budget. Interesting enough, I created that budget for affluent clients. It works whether you're affluent or not. It divides out your needs and your wants, and it makes budgeting easy. They save between 10 and 50% of their income. I have clients that save 50% of their income. I have others that struggle to save 10%, but start with 10, get to 20, get to 30. Maximize your retirement accounts. That's what they do. They maximize their retirement, they reduce their expenses, and then they create additional sources of revenue. Selling their expertise, affiliate marketing, network marketing, side business, whatever it may be. So get really clear on where your income sources are going to come from. So let's look at some tips. You got to commit to execute regardless of how you feel. When you miss the target, reassess and make adjustments and execute. And then last but not least, consider finding an accountability partner or hiring an advisor. One of the best things you could do is find a good qualified advisor and hire them. Somebody that's really helping you look at your big picture. It'll pay you back dividends tenfold. So there you have it. So if you want the Wealthy Life Formula, where it dives into foundation, strategy, execution, you can go to millionaireseries.com/WL-guide. You're going to love that. It really takes you step by step through each element of your financially free life you're creating or you're maintaining. If you want to serve more affluent clients, you can go to millionaireseries.com/affluent for our upcoming training. For today's show notes, go to millionaireseries.com/1000. For all Wealthy Life episodes, go to millionaireseries.com/WLI. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the bell. And I want to thank you so much for joining me for the Millionaire Insider Financial Freedom Formula. I'm Annette Ba'u, the host of the Millionaire Insider. All international copyrights are reserved. I really appreciate you joining me for the Millionaire Insider Financial Freedom Formula. Now, I just encourage you to go do it. If you're not getting your desired results, go download the guide, millionaireseries.com/WL-guide. But just start where you are. If you need support, really start looking at your foundation. That's where most of the keys are found. And then create your strategy and then execute. And you want to balance them. You don't want to just be focused on just your foundation. You want to be focused on a combination between your foundation and your execution. Now, before you get back to your day, you can click the link above. That training was specifically designed to help you on the next level to getting to where you want to go. So I'll look forward to seeing you on that training and on our future episodes. Bye for now.